Thank you for joining us today for Net-Zero OPEX for S4HANA migration with AI strategy. We're going to have a robust conversation with industry experts who will help us learn how our companies can go through SAP migration with a little less pain, but a sense of urgency. Not only will you find ways to make it more effective, but you will discover the ROI, the cost benefits of working with a team in making this migration actually happen. So please join us as we move into this conversation, hosted by myself and Richard Fitzharris with World IT COE, who could be your partners in helping make your SAP migration not only smooth, but less painful for you and your company. I'm Dr. Jeannie Snyder, and let's step into this conversation. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us again for another episode of SAP Migration from ECC to S4HANA with AI Strategy. I'm Dr. Jeannie Snyder, your host, and I'm very excited to be here again with more experts from the World COE IT team, and that today is Richard Fitzharris, Anton Hernikas, and in the studio with me today, Pete Chamberlain. Welcome, Pete, Rich, and Anton, and we'll get started. So welcome everyone to this show, and I will introduce Richard Fitzharris first. Richard, tell us a little bit about your role in this team and what's going on here. Set the stage for us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Jeannie. Appreciate it. Well, my colleagues on the call, they'll introduce themselves as well, but just suffice it to say, today's subject matter discussion is around net zero S4HANA migration strategy with AI and how we can move that roadmap forward for S4HANA. I bring about 20 years as an SME background in oil, gas, chemical mining, and utilities. And are working with clients currently globally. And I'm with World IT COE. And we'd like to talk about our strategies and how we can help companies have trusted clean data, core data, and have a trusted AI strategy, all while they're moving from ECC to S4HANA. So it's kind of like setting the stage for our discussion today.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Rich. And Anton Hernikas, please tell us a little bit about your role, both in this group and what you do in your day job.
Thank you, Dr. Jeannie. So, hello, everyone. I'm Anton. I'm the AWS Principal Specialist for SAP, including modernizations. Now, as SAP related, so my first project in IT back in 1996, so over 30 years ago, is starting
You've
with
got a little
SAP.
bit of experience in this.
Well, yeah, quite some time then. Even starting with, I don't, probably out of the audience is even younger than us, right? Probably they haven't heard about the R3 versions of SAP, which is even the previous one is R2 versions in mainframe. That's where I begin my journey until now, where we are on the cloud. So I'm with AWS, leading the SAP sales and also initiative within the Southeast Asia countries, or we call it ASEAN, as part of the associations of the Southeast Asia countries. So I'm glad to be in this discussions, in this podcast. Of course, with Rich, which I know him for more than 2 years already now, and also with Pete then. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And Pete Chamberlain, tell us about your role with this network and your background.
Well, yeah, I represent a technology that's a component to this overall solution that Rich has assembled. And, Rich is somebody that I've also gotten to know for the last couple of years. What we've really done together is put together a collective of, really thought leaders in this particular area, teamed up together to provide a solution that's going to deliver real value for our customers. The solution that I'm responsible for is an operational one to ensure the highest level of efficiency is delivered during, pre, during, and post the migration. So we ensure that when we talk about minimal business interruption, we ensure that that gets done, and we're the ones that behind the scenes are ensuring that reliability and that efficiency is delivered. I really appreciate what Anton said about his background because I started in the IT business about 35 years ago, and I remember one of my customers actually here in Atlanta was going through a reinstall of R2, and I was just shocked about the fact that they had to do a complete reinstall. It wasn't just an upgrade, it was a complete reinstall. That's what you did back then. And so the fact that SAP is brought this upon the customer base is created a very compelling event for all of us that we're very excited about. But also, we understand that there's some real challenges that the client is going to be dealing with, and there's some concerns. And so, one of the things that we want to try to deliver in this message and part of the podcast is to ease those concerns that, hey, we've got your back, we understand what you're going through, and that we collaboratively can help you through this uncertainty, if you will, as you go through it, to ensure that you get to that destination and that you can maintain the business operations properly.
I think one of the things that keeps being brought up in this episode and in other episodes is that the minimization of the interruption of business. And I think as much as we have angst about the urgency of getting this SAP migration done in each of our companies, the big point is we get to continue to do, as we mentioned earlier, our day jobs while this has been going on. Who would like to take the question? Maybe I'll pass that to Rich first about how when you come in, is this network of experts that comes in from all different perspectives, from different backgrounds, but with a wealth of knowledge and experience. How does that work? How do you come in and work with my team and I don't have to stop doing what I do on a daily basis, and yet the transformation is happening? Can you explain that a little bit, Rich? And then we'll pass it off to Anton.
Absolutely, Dr. Gino. I'll kind of set the stage. Today's marketplace is under a compelling event, like Pete mentioned.
Yes, compelling event in both directions, both the intensity of it and the excitement of it.
Exactly right. So SAP has basically told their global install base of ECC clients that they have to move to S/4HANA by 2027, or maintenance support and other things will be very cost prohibitive for them to stay on it. And so they're trying to move everybody quickly to the cloud, like one size fits all. Well, that's not always true in life. And so a lot of people have been reticent on moving. And so what we've done with our team, between my 20 years, Pete's 30 years, Anton's 20 years plus, we have many other teams behind us as well. We're bringing the thought leadership to your company to help you create kind of an SAP center of excellence. So we come in and we help you with a short 2, 4, 6, 8-week assessment. It depends on how large you are and how deep a dive we have to do with your company. But we help you with a roadmap to give you a real snapshot on your current ECC install base and your trusted data score, where you're at. Do you really need to move all the data you have to the new, more expensive S/4HANA cloud? And appropriately, as you do AI, this is the other compelling event. Besides that event, you also have to think about AI strategy. I'll give you one example. Many people say, well, I have people that are already creating agents internally. Isn't that wonderful? And I'll say to them, do you have a way of governing them? Have you thought about that? So once you turn on these agents in your company, you're opening up exposure and risk to people coming into your company via that new open API and doing some nefarious issues. So this is really a strategy. So net zero OPEX of what you're spending right now. We would like to help you think through this strategy in this assessment, 2, 4, 6-week assessment that we report to your board with, to think about how do you have trusted data? How do you have secure data? What do you need in the new future event of S/4HANA? And then how does that go forward with you in an AI strategy? So this is kind of our discussion today. This is our expertise, and we'd like to meet you on that journey together and help you build that SAP Center of Excellence going forward. That's a little bit of background on how we're approaching this problem.
I think that helps. And if you've watched some of the other episodes, you've seen different pieces of this and how the entire group comes together. I think the Center of Excellence is what this network brings for you. We don't have to go out and find experts in every field because you're bringing them all together. I'm going to pass that to Anton and talk about additionally how this Center of Excellence and the Center of Excellent folks that come to work with you. I think one of the things is during the transformation, we're going step by step with them. If you could speak to that, Anton, thank you.
Exactly, Dr. Jeannie. Thank you. So Well, as Richard already framed, right now, with the end of life, end of support of ECC6 and transferring into S4HANA, well, many of SAP partners is kind of busy in doing the migrations or transitions, even to now with the RISE commercial model. But what makes it different, based on my understanding, having, well, partnering with Richard for more than 2 years, is the World COE has the difference. What Rich mentions, right? Concern not only about the migrations, but the most important thing is about reducing the downtime and the quality of the data and the security of the data. And the other thing, the most important thing, is related with the Gen AI strategy. Not many of SAP partners are really considered about it, especially with, as I'm aware, the migration process itself, the sprint. I think Rich mentions 4 weeks, 6 weeks. It's considered quite fast, while even though the timeline is very short, but it's deep and details, right? Which that's something most of the customers always kind of worry how deep it is, how it will impact to the organizations, what will be the futures later after upgrading to S4HANA, and so on and so forth, right? Something that it's basically with this model, with what ITCOE is all well covered. So yeah,
I
so
think,
that's some of the thought, and yeah. Yeah,
right. One of the things you mentioned
please.
was maybe being concerned about the shortness of the time, but because you have this
Yeah,
complete team of people working, you're looking in a short amount of time, but going very deep. And as Rich mentioned,
yes,
then at the end of this sprint, as you said, at the end of the assessment, you're then speaking with the board, you're presenting to the board, and you're starting to then engage everyone from top level all the way through the folks that are actually doing the migration in a way that it seems to be you've got yesterday a podcast talked about the observability. So you're
Right.
seeing in all different areas. So Pete, do you want to speak to this about what this brings to both the angst and the security when we talk about you're not only having strategy, but as I go through this, I am confident that my data is secure as well as my processes. Do you want to
Right.
speak to that a little
So
bit?
yeah, so great point, and that's one of the things that Rich and team has assembled as thought leaders to be able to address a lot of these issues. The main thing that we're doing is the role that we play is more from a technology standpoint. So you got technology, you got people, you got process, you got all these things that are going to be affected by this migration or in the migration. But one of the things we do, of course, quickly is on the technology front, which is key, right? So with every SAP implementation, there's a certain degree of how they're using it in a standard format. Then there's also a lot of customization, right? So one of the things that we're able to do with our solution is to connect into that infrastructure completely, and then to be able to do a very quick assessment, what we call a health check, and be able to look for areas where it can be improved immediately. So you're looking for vulnerabilities, you're looking for issues, you're looking for, frankly, where again, people that understand the migration process, you've got the one-to-one kind of lift and shift kind of scenarios where you can do that, and that's very straightforward. But as you get into more of the customized code, you start to realize, well, wait a minute, that doesn't necessarily translate automatically into the cloud. So therefore, there's going to be some transition that has to be done to those specific components, transactions, et cetera. And so one of the things we can do very quickly within literally just a few days is connect in and provide a visibility to this complete infrastructure through the health check and provide a very detailed report as to where exactly you are today. And then ultimately what we're doing during the migration and pre-migration is ensuring that we, first of all, get the environment to its highest level of production and efficiency. So we eliminate any issues or potential downtime during this critical time. And then once we determine what those issues are and put together a map, kind of a statement of work, if you will, of what it's going to take to get through the migration process itself, then we can pick up and provide those capabilities as well on the post-migration side to ensure, like Jeannie said, the observability, as well as the maintaining of the infrastructure properly so that the efficiencies can be driven. And of course, one of the big deals, a part of it, and this is one of the reasons why Rich has assembled such a strong team, is that we're sensitive to all the various components that go into this. It's not just the technology part, but the people and the process as well, right? So one of the things that we're looking at simultaneously as we go through this to ensure that we understand all the impact and frankly we talk about zero OPEX impact, right? Well, the way you do that is you look for how can we save money? How can we be more efficient? How can we leverage this new platform in such a way that the customer can see some real immediate benefit financially? And then, of course, cleaning up the data that Rich always talks about, ensuring that quality is there so that when you are actually gone into that post S4 environment, that you've got really a new install and a new highly efficient, highly productive environment that can be executed by your people more efficiently. And all of a sudden that long-term ROI can be realized. And thus the very expensive part of doing this, unfortunately you have to, but there's a lot of benefits that can be gained once it gets done. And that long-term benefit can be a tremendous ROI for the customer.
I think one of the
Perfect.
things he just mentioned was health check. And we don't want to do it. We don't want to go to the doctor, right? We don't want to have the group come in. Well, one thing you said, Pete, was this has to be done. I mean,
Yeah.
in 2027, this ends, right? So we've got to have
Yeah.
it done. But then the other piece is, how do you know? I'll go to Rich first on this, and then we'll go around to all of the guests. But how do you know my company? How do you know? How can you work with all different kinds of companies and still be knowledgeable about my health check, the gaps, and my security and my data? How do you
Right.
customize that? And yet Pete said you keep the standard things that you have to do, but the customization, tell me a little bit more about how you work with all different types of companies. Rich, we'll
Sure.
go to you first.
Sure. Dr. Jeannie, spot on. What I found is, you can't lead people forward unless they trust you. It's just the way life works. So our assessment, we come in, we work with your thought leaders, the client's thought leaders around SAP that they currently have. We work with their current data, with Pete's applications and Anton's applications. We're able to pull up very quickly a deep level report and details of all the customization they've done over the years to S4HANA or SAP, excuse me. And then we will work with the team, like I said, to create that center of excellence, that gap that they're missing. And this is the part Pete just brought up. That we also, at the same time that you're doing our assessment, working with us on this 2, 4, 6, 8-week assessment, we have an end goal of going live in the future in S4HANA in 2027-ish, plus or minus. And we have to back up from there and say, what is your organizational change management needed internally with your thought leaders? So
With the
when that
people
switch goes,
as well as the
Right.
technology.
it's
Got it.
not just the technology; it's also the human beings that are going to run and maintain this new let's call it a clean core state going forward. And so we'll also bring that to the board level. So you're thinking of these multiple strategic, let's call it A priorities, big rocks. We're going to help you kind of gather those big rocks at the board level with your team, with your data. That's our assessment we bring to you. Now, after the assessment, we've earned your trust and shown you what you have. Now we're going to say, let us prove it to you. This is where Anton's involved as well with AWS. We'd like to stand up a pilot program. So we found that we build more trust internally and you see the gaps clearly of what's missing as you go through that motion. And we have, through Pete and our colleagues, order to cash accelerators, Boomi accelerators, other accelerators we can bring that are all certified and approved, and will be done with your data. And so now we can show you that instead of closing the books and it takes 1 or 2 weeks to close your books every quarter, we could do it in hours or minutes.
So you're going to help with processes. Sorry.
Helps with processes. I'll give you another example. With Pete's assessment tool and how we bring our best practice tools in, let's say that you have many licenses that you're paying for from SAP ECC.
Right.
We're able to uncover, in many cases, the cost of the assessments offset by the licenses saved that you might not need.
So I may see that immediately, that immediate savings, even during the sprint, the assessment, correct?
Even during the assessment, right. And then after the assessment, let's say it's a 2, 4, 6, or 8 week or 9 week pilot program. That's for your board. That's to give you that confidence that as we say, look, here's what your order to cash looks like. Here's what in S4HANA. Here's what closing the books looks like in S4HANA. Here's what a clean core looks like going in to do your analysis, your forecasting, your inventory, your supply. All that can come out. So now you have a snapshot of a future state without even moving yet, to give you
So
that trust and confidence to say, okay, what's the next steps?
I would
And
have
that's how
confidence in that step even before we take it. Is that the
that's
case?
correct. That's
And I
correct.
think one of the
That's
things that's important that each of you has mentioned is it's not only the people that are working directly with the migration. It is everyone in the company that would have an understanding and be able to see that dashboard, that snapshot, so that I
right.
understand not only what's happening with the migration itself, but what's happening with our company. What's that transformation going forward? Anton, I'm going to come to you to add on to this when we are instilling that trust, we can't come in and say we bring trust, right? That has to
Yeah.
become an
Learn.
outcome of it,
Yeah.
and it happens not only at
Yeah.
the end where we see the dashboard, the snapshot, the assessment outcomes, but it also happens during the process. So talk a little bit about that, about the real day to day. What does this look like as we're going through it?
So that's interesting. I think Richard already mentioned about the people itself, the
Mm-hmm.
expertise, and Pete mentioned about the process, right? So I think it's the other during the process itself, the day to day. What you need is the right tools. So complementing the expertise and the deep understanding and having the best practice of the process, our team were equipped by the right tools. Probably just a bit sharing informations. AWS now has a new AI development lifecycle tools, which is Kiro. It's AI, agentic AI integrated development environment that supports SAP, including SAP ABAP program or coding. That's what the teams are
Wow.
using, and that's helped during the process, the day-to-day process, during the migrations, and give the confidence because the AI itself comes in the tools that helps to streamline all the process, streamline the activities, while the customers, the client can see the process by themselves, the day to day, the results, even starting from the planning phase then. So can you imagine the expert combined with the best practice, having the, tested by best practice process that tested by the experience of the experts, then combined with the advanced tools that help them, uh, helping during the day-to-day process, helping also, let's say, addressing different kind of companies that you earlier mentioned, Dr. Jeannie.
Yeah.
Well, I can
And
imagine it because you're
Dr. Dean.
painting the picture here. And I think one of the things is it doesn't matter what the process is. Something as huge as this,
Yeah.
or cooking something. If you're in the middle of it, you need the right tool at your fingertips. And so
Yeah.
what I'm hearing
Yeah.
is you got not only the right tool but the right people. Rich, we'll come to you.
Yeah. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but yeah, I'm excited about what Anton just
We
said.
can't wait. We can't wait to
I'm
get out here
excited. I'm
and
excited.
see it.
I
Because when
want to share
Anton
with
said,
you my
"Can you
thoughts.
imagine?"
Right.
I can
But
imagine.
I'll give you an example. What he just said, let me just translate that into real life.
Rich gets a little excited, everyone.
Yeah,
Yes.
I do, because it's wonderful. So as we go through the assessment, we recommend these tools. Some of these tools can save up to 40% man hours. Save. So let's just say that you have a 1 or 2 year or 3 year migration. You have a big company. It takes 3 years. Some of his tools can save a year or 9 months of migration cost, because we're using the best practices. That's tremendous savings. Now, one more thing we pride ourselves on: we work well with others. So as we're building this trust in our assessment, as we're building the trust on our pilot program with companies, the company will say, "Well, Richard, Anton, Pete, we have our best integrator is Deloitte or PwC or Accenture or IBM." We say, "Wonderful." We work with them as well, and we bring these best practices and tools that we just validated to your board in the pilot program on cost savings. And we now your center of excellence internally can say to IBM, "We know of 40% savings if you use this tool." on our migration. We want to use this tool. If you're the prime, we want to use this tool because we believe this will save us 40% more time. And then guess what IBM says? Sure, absolutely. We'll be happy to use that tool. So you'll have that center of excellence coming together internally. You'll know what you don't have, you know what you need, and you know where to go.
Well, I
And
think
that's the
that
value.
is the exciting part. And I think you see Rich has done his hands like this 14 times because it is that synergy. It is the intersection of the tools, the people, the technology. And also what I heard you say, Anton, is your team is using something hot off the press, something brand new. So as you are doing this transformation process, as you're doing the roll up your sleeves hard work, the client is not having to think about, oh, where are we going to get that? Where are we going to get that? Because you've got each of you and others that are on this team on the edge of what is happening now. So if there's something we can integrate that is fresh and new, it happens. But the savings, I've heard, 40% savings of people hours, of money. And I have heard this team talk about this. So we'll ask. It almost is as the assessment pays for itself. Is that true? You're going to get so much money or so much savings that you're almost the money that you're investing in the assessment up front to then move into the pilot program, to then move into the full migration. It comes out, that's part of your, I guess, net zero OPEX, right?
Right, it is, but it's OPEX net zero. But the key is
OPEX net zero. Sorry, I said it wrong.
It's with the full participation of the client. They have to share with us how they're doing their IT infrastructure, how they're doing their current landscape. This isn't a one-side conversation. It's really a dialogue, and we're working with their team, as I use my hands again, to create a center of excellence. And so that's how where the cost savings shown and personnel is shown. But one more thing, I'll kind of repeat this again. Pete brought up minimal business interruption. Remember, you've spent years building your ECC environment. You spend millions of dollars and thousands of man hours to get where you're at successfully. You do not want to anyway change or rock that boat. So we can bring that pre, during, and post-migration, call it a parallel application, to give you that confidence when we throw the switch with you, with IBM, or with other SIs or Worthy SI in a year or 8 months. The team is ready, the culture's ready, you're ready, and your business interruption is minimal to zero as a goal. And so this is a strategy. This is how you have to approach this large problem just standing in front of you. And that's what we feel we can bring to you in that thought leadership. Minimal business interruption.
I love that. I know we could talk forever because every one of these episodes has been so rich, no pun intended, in content. But the intersection of these people, these experts with their colleagues, but the intersection of all of the tools and processes. Today, we probably need to begin to wrap up, but I'll go to Anton first and say, what is it that you would like to say as your kind of last thing? We'll go to Anton, then Pete, and then Rich will finish up with you.
So I think the message that I want to deliver is, we know that the time seems to be very short, right? 2027 is probably a year,
it's a little
less than a year
it's
from
a
now.
little scary how close that
Very
is.
close.
Correct. Yes.
Yes. But I think we have the right, again, I should say the process, the people, and the technology with our experience. And the most important thing is the impact with the, as Rich mentioned, the term is, we uncover your hidden OPEX and try to help them with the reduced cost of it. Basically, it pays by itself, right? The OPEX Rich mentioned. So don't have the client doesn't have to be worried with all these combinations of solutions from AWS, from the world IT COEs, and also from the tech skills, right? So we can help customers to upgrade to the latest versions of S4HANA and with the right best practice, which is the clean core and ready for Gen AI scenario or Gen AI usage in the futures. Yeah.
Thank you,
So
Anton.
that's from me.
Thank you. And we'll come to Pete because Pete, you've talked about health check. Anton just helped us to breathe.
Mhm.
We've talked about how the people are there, as Rich has spoken about. You have the accelerators on your side, but bring it together for us.
Yeah, I think one of the things I wanted to emphasize too, and rightly so, right? We're focusing on SAP because that's kind of what's driving this whole initiative. But SAP does not operate in a bubble. I mean, it doesn't operate by itself, right? And so one of the things that I think is extremely important that I think our team that we've assembled has a strong sense of is beyond SAP as well, right? Because the way SAP interacts with other applications within an environment, that needs to be taken in account as well. So one of the things is we're not just singly focused on just the SAP application, but the overall business. And one of the things we have from a technology standpoint is to be able to provide a single pane of glass view of that whole environment of which SAP is a major component, and then the operational integrity of that whole environment to ensure that the complete enterprise is operating at its highest level. I think that's a huge differentiator for us because most everybody's going to be talking singly focused on SAP, and that makes a lot of sense. But there's very few companies, if any, that are out there that are only strictly SAP accounts. They have many other applications that are affected by SAP, and so when you going through this migration, you're going through this transition, what effects that going to have on the relative applications that interact with SAP that are not under the SAP umbrella? And so we're very sensitive to that. So that, again, that's a technology play, that's a process play, that's a people play that we are sensitive to. And so as Rich mentions about the board report, well, that's part of it. And the fact that we understand beyond the SAP world, the other applications that we're interacting with. And again, we can provide technology-wise, we can provide a visibility to that complete environment so the customer has the confidence and that trust that we're trying to work towards to gain, that we have their complete enterprise under consideration when we're doing this, not just that application.
I think that's so important, and the intersection of technology, people, and process comes together here. We could talk on and on, I know, but we need to quickly wrap. Rich, could you just tell us what's our next step? How do we get in touch with this team? What is our, because people should be anxious right now to be able to contact you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And let me just tie off something Pete just said 30 seconds ago. One of the use cases that we can show with you as we continue our conversation uh, in SAP and non-SAP environment, in one client, large enterprise client in Canada, Pete was able to uncover $27 million a year in savings ongoing. So that's a
$27
tremendous
million in
savings.
savings. Let that hang in the air for a minute.
So there's a lot of value in what he said for SAP and non-SAP because we can help in that whole environment pre, during, and post migration to see it all and help you forward for the optimum. But let me just tie it
What's
together.
our next step? We need to wrap the
Next
show,
step,
and I know Rich can get excited. So what is our next step?
So our next step is we'd like to talk with your leadership team about net zero S4HANA migration with an AI strategy. We'd like to help you craft and build your internal SAP Center of Excellence with our team with a 2, 4, 6, or 8 week assessment. So that'll be the next steps. We'll be sending you a PDF as such, and we have a landing page. It's very simple. Step 1, 2, 3 landing page. So our SMEs of World IT COE can come and talk with you, set up the discussion, and get this assessment moving forward. So you have this this compelling event, both the S4HANA migration and the AI strategy. Those two compelling events. We'll address that in that first assessment. After the assessment, we're going to recommend a pilot program with us in AWS on site with your data to validate the roadmap. And then we work with your team, either a large SI, we could also be the SI to help you forward for your integration. But the next step is working with you and your thought leaders and carrying this conversation forward.
I love that. I love how this conversation carries that conversation forward. I'd like to thank you, Richard Fitzharris, Anton Hernikas, and Pete Chamberlain for being our guests today. They are just part of the experts that come in to work with you and your company. We are so glad that you have been with us today talking about SAP migration from ECC to S4HANA with AI strategy. I'm Dr. Jeannie Snyder. It's been thrilling to be with these experts. It's also exciting, as Anton said, to imagine how your company can move forward with this team. Please reference our show notes to get in touch with Rich and with the team. And we thank you again for being with us today on this episode. Thank you for listening. I'm Dr. Jeannie Snyder, and we appreciate your being a part of this conversation. And if you would like to learn more about SAP migration for your company and how you can work with World IT COE, please reach out directly to Rich Fitzharris, and that is R. Fitzharris, FITZHARRIS at worlditcoe.com. We'll see you on the next episode.